Hello and welcome to Bloodhouse, the show where we talk about art house horror films. I'm your host, Joshua Conkle.
And I'm your exsanguinated co-hostess, Drusilla. Adeline, how are you doing this week, Josh?
I gotta say, I'm a little cranky. I didn't sleep well last night. My allergies are acting up. I'm starting a diet tomorrow. I agreed to do this diet with my gym called the Whole30, which is like a highly restrictive food diet for 30 days.
Gross.
So I'm like completely cranky.
Perfect. You're in the right mood for this week.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm less cranky. I mean, the world is slouching towards Bethlehem. Things are getting awful and I don't like it. But like, Tennessee's making me upset and scared and awful. AI art is making me scared, upset, and awful. Clarence Thomas accepting bribes is disgusting and awful. They just banned trans healthcare for minors in my home state of Indiana. It's a bad week for the world. It's been like a fine week in my household. So
don't forget that they also banned that abortion pill that's been legal for 20 years.
Oh yes, they did do that
this week
as
well.
What do we?
Anyway, happy Easter!
Happy Easter!
Did you realize today is Easter?
I did realize today was Easter. I realized today was Easter because yesterday I went on a date to. Oh, indeed.
To church?
Kind of.
Okay.
I went on a date to Forest Lawn.
Oh, that's a great date.
For those who don't know, Forest Lawn is a massive, gigantic, like, bougie-ass cemetery here in Glendale, California. There's another one in the Hollywood Hills, kind of Burbank area, but the Glendale one's the OG. It's the original. And it's incredible. Driving my old-ass Jaguar through that... Because it's, like... acres and it's like hills and you're going up and you're going down and you're curving here and there's all these different like sections and then like fucking castle looking buildings that hold like mausoleums and shrines and all these things, and at the very 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 top of all of this is a church building with like a very Baroque facade, but then the rest is like warehouse looking building at the top of the mountain with a giant cross on it, and you can see this building and that cross from almost anywhere else in Los Angeles. It is so high up. If you're driving on like the 101 up into Hollywood, you can fucking see this thing. It's really imposing. And you walk through this like big church hall, and there's a lot of signs everywhere about how like you must remove your Easter decorations from your loved one's plots by this day. So I was like, oh yeah, Easter's tomorrow.
Yeah, I am actually working on a project that it's an adaptation of a book, and it's set in the death industry, and there's a lot of history in it, and apparently the man who founded Forest Lawn was kind of like the Henry Fonda of death, basically. Like, he kind of came up with the idea of corporatizing the death industry.
I think you mean Henry Ford, not Henry Fonda. I was like, he had striking blue eyes and he was a big progressive?
Oh my god, yes, Henry Ford. Henry Fonda. See, I'm very tired. I met Henry Ford. So he, like, corporatized the death industry and the funeral industry, and that's what... Forest Lawn is, like, historically pretty important in that regard. Very strange place.
Very strange place. So that big building on top that we went to isn't really a church. It is exclusively there to hold a massive panoscopic painting of the crucifixion of Jesus. It is mad. It is, the whole building was built around this gigantic painting. And the reason we went is twofold. One, we went to a thrift store a week ago, and we found an old postcard from Forest Lawn of that painting. It's called that big room is called the Hall of Resurrection. And we thought this postcard it's like from like the 50s or 60s. We thought it was incredible and weird because it's primarily this gorgeous, huge painting, and then the far right side of the photo is like all these like movie theater seats around it.
Mhm.
And it felt really chintzy, and I was like, oh, it's Forest Lawn, it's in Glendale, I should get this.
Yeah.
And then when we went yesterday, I was like, we should go to that thing from the postcard. We should find out what that is. And we went to the top of the hill and went in, and we're just gobsmacked. They have like pamphlets on the history of the painting. It was made in like the 1890s, and the painter was hired and went to Jerusalem to like
Whoa.
sketch stuff out to get the landscape right. And then on his way back, he stopped off at the Vatican and had the Pope bless his brushes and palettes. But the best part, they have a little like display to the right of the painting with like glass cases. And they have the original crown of thorns that the model wore for the painting in there. And
oh my God, this is like the Academy Museum.
I know, and the palette and brushes that were blessed by the Pope.
Oh my God.
Insane. But then above all of that, there's 3 giant paintings. The center one is of the painter who made this painting. The one to the left is of the man who commissioned the painting. And the one to the right is the founder of Forest Lawn.
Okay.
And so they each have a plaque underneath, and the first one says, "He dreamed it."
Like he's Walt Disney.
The painter's is, "He painted it." And the founder of Forest Lawn says, "And he preserved it for eternity." And like, there's nothing more capitalistic than the painter who made this giant thing surrounded by 2 capitalists, 2 rich men who paid for the painting, and the man who preserved the painting. It would be like going on the Warner Brothers tour, and there's like a giant like shrine to Orson Welles, but on the right side you have like Ted Turner, whoever owns Discovery now, and to the left side is like the head of RKO in 1940.
Right. Oh my
Super
God,
bizarre. The reason we wanted to go though is because of the movie The Loved One.
Oh yeah.
From the 1960s, which is like the super goth, baroque, darkly comic, like John Waters take on Forest Lawn. Super fucked up and incredible. And
I haven't seen that. I've always wanted to.
Oh, you would lose your mind over it.
I bet.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Yeah, I can't quite remember the history of it, but it was like he was the first person to innovate, like, oh, you could buy your whole family's plots in advance, and it's very expensive to be there. And he had the idea that, like, he was against having, like, gravestones because he felt like it was gaudy and tacky, so he, like, insisted that all of the markers just be flat, simple, uniform markers, because he felt like that was classier.
Interesting that he thinks that, because rich people there get statues over their graves.
Yeah.
So it's gaudy for you to have a headstone. Everyone else gets a flat one. But if you pay me enough money, you can have a fucking statue of 3 fairies making out.
I also think it was like the kind of place where like Jewish people or people of color couldn't be buried and all of that sort of stuff.
There's a great bit at the beginning of The Loved One where they're going to like get the plot ready for their loved one. And the people in front of them at the line getting stuff ready are a Jewish family. And all you hear is them being like, "I'm sorry, Mr. Rosenbaum, but we can recommend some other great alternatives." Super like fucked up.
It's a bit of a country club for dead people.
It's exactly what it is. And I love it.
Have you watched anything cool besides The Loved One?
I need to rewatch The Loved One. I adore that fucking movie. Yes. So I watched 2 movies this week that are kind of psycho that I haven't seen. Big, like, canonized classics.
Mm-hmm.
The first of which is a Tennessee Williams adaptation that's incredibly gay, and it's super famous. And it's weird I haven't seen it. But Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. I finally checked that off my list this week.
Love.
With Liz Taylor and Paul Newman and Burl Ives.
So great.
Yeah, it's really good.
That's so dismissive of you.
Well, they play down the homosexuality so much when it's like the point of the thing that I was
tone it down from the play quite a bit. Like if you read the play and then watch the movie.
Watching the movie, like the performances are great and all that stuff, but I was just like, I think I'd rather see the play. I'd rather read the play. Like, This doesn't
good read.
feel like it feels like someone aping Tennessee Williams. It doesn't feel like Tennessee Williams.
Yeah, I really like reading plays, and it's not just because I have it. I mean, I liked it before I had a theater background, but like Tennessee Williams plays are so well written that you just see them when you read them. So it's like watching the production of it. You know,
I love Tennessee Williams so much.
Yeah, amazing.
So
amazing.
yeah, turning the clear homosexuality of Paul Newman's character into hero worship is fucking psycho. I did read that it was supposed to be directed by George Cukor. And he left the project because he didn't know how to deal with the censors on it, and it was taken over by Richard Brooks, who went on to make In Cold Blood. And it really makes sense why George Cukor was like, I don't know what to do with this, because George Cukor was gay, so he was like, well, we can't lose that, because that's the fucking thing. And Richard Brooks was like, fuck them homos, here's what we're gonna do. Anyway, it was good. It was good. I liked it.
It's the same thing if you watch The Children's Hour. If you read the play The Children's Hour and then watch the movie, it's like, oh, they really got rid of this lesbian stuff
for this lesbian play. I still need to see The Children's Hour. I've avoided it because The Cellular Closet spoiled the ending for me, and I've been like, well, then okay. But the other one I saw, I liked a little bit more. And it's also a little weird that I haven't seen it, especially considering my background. I watched Scorsese's Mean Streets for the first time.
Oh, really?
I had never seen Mean Streets.
That's so surprising.
I don't know why. I mean, I don't really like gangster movies. I'm not like...
No, I don't really either.
Like, I love Scorsese. I love working with Scorsese. He's a fucking saint. I love the man to high heaven. When I go to watch a Scorsese movie, I'm not picking Goodfellas or The Irishman or Casino or something. I love Casino though. However, Mean Streets, I've always been like, oh yeah, it's just like a grittier Goodfellas. I'll get it, whatever. It is not. It is very much just like dudes hanging out in that era. They just so happen to be Italians in New York, so they're technically mobbed up. But like, it's more just like early 20s, early 30s dudes just like scrapping in pool halls because they've got to fight with each other. The only like mob schemes they pull are two of them like fuck over some teenagers for $15 that are trying to buy fireworks. Like, it feels like a teenager movie in such a big way. It's so cute and so fun. De Niro is terrifying. Harvey Keitel's the lead, and he's awesome, but it's like the most Scorsese movie ever. It's the Rosetta Stone for him as a person that it's weird that I hadn't seen it, because it is like heavy narration by Harvey Keitel, insanely Catholic. He's constantly talking about the saints and about penitence, and like he's introduced going to church and going to confession, and he's constantly talking about it. When he's not going to church and when he's not fucking Amy Robinson, and when he's not like scrapping in the pool halls with the boys, he's going to the movies. Like, there's whole swaths of Mean Streets that are just other movies, and then they pan out to them just sitting in the audience. Like, they just go to see a Vincent Price movie at the end of this, like near the climax, and it's like, cool. Like,
no, it's been a long time since I've seen that. That's the one that, like, it's often credited for innovating the use of old pop songs instead of, like, using a score.
Very
right?
much so.
Like, has Be My Little Baby in it, or things like that, like early 60s girl groups. And
lots of that. Yeah. De Niro's introduced with, like, a slow-mo tracking shot to Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones, which, like, in 1973, getting a Rolling Stones track in your movie is a fucking coup.
It's a coup now. We used a Rolling Stones song at the end of Sabrina season 1, and it cost $100,000 to use.
That's honestly cheap. I would have said $1 million, because I know, like, Beatles tracks get, like, in the multi-millions to use for, like, 2 seconds in maybe like a trailer, like, psycho. But yeah, I was kind of blown away, and now I'm like a little ashamed of myself. But I'm glad I watched it now, because I appreciate it as much as I did.
Yeah, it's good.
Anyway, and your Grumpster heaven over there, have you seen anything lately?
Yeah, so these are repeat watches, but one is tangential to your watch, because not De Niro, but Pacino I went and saw a screening of 1980s Cruising, which I know that you did art for and the re-release.
I didn't do
And
that for the re-release. I just did it for myself.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you did the Arrow video.
I wish.
One. Oh. Anyway, I hadn't seen it in a long time. It's weird to watch it in a movie theater with all basically straight people. It really scratched at my internalized homophobia because I felt very uncomfortable watching those leather scenes with like an audience full of straight men.
That's on you.
I know, it's totally on me. I forgot the extent to which, first of all, vibes and aesthetic are off the charts.
Immaculate. Good. 10 out of 10.
But every time I watch that movie, and I've seen it maybe 4 times now, the back half of it, I don't ever remember. And I think it doesn't work is why. Like the second half of the movie, I don't think it quite works. The first half is so good. The mystery, the killer with his voice, like all of that leather stuff, all those historical gay bars like the Ramrod, and all of that is so great. But once they focus on a suspect, to me, it kind of falls apart a little bit.
I disagree.
Okay.
I love the ending of Cruising, and
I love the ending, but the 30 minutes that come before the ending, I'm like not that crazy about.
That's fair. I think that sequence is necessary. I don't think it's incredible, but you know, showing him breaking into this guy's house and stuff like that, and like, is important for his character. Because it shows where he's at in his investigation, just
how far he's devolved, basically.
Yeah, and it's really important to get us to that ending. Because I think the ending is, without spoiling the movie Cruising for listeners who haven't seen it, because you fucking should, but it's also like a 40-year-old movie.
Great.
I think the ending is outrageously ambiguous, and I think it has really fucked up implications for Pacino, and also, without getting too far into it, I don't think that guy's in massive quotes, the killer.
Interesting.
My view of Cruising is that there are multiple killers.
I think that's interesting. Okay.
And I think Friedkin supports that. Because one of the guys that he tails throughout the movie does portray the killer in early scenes, but doesn't portray the killer in later scenes. Friedkin had different people voice and portray the killer in different scenes to kind of get at that.
Well, people are often dubbed in the movie, even when they don't need to be, because the killer is dubbed. So I feel like it's a choice to kind of like obscure even further who the killer is. But the killer's voice is really creepy. It reminds me a lot of Ghostface from Scream, to be honest. Like, it's like sort of a sexy, teasing man's voice.
I mean, there's a lot of similarities between the killer in Cruising and the killer in Scream, in that, like, they're both more than one person, and they're both gay men.
Yeah. And I do, in the context of 1980, I do understand why gay people objected so violently to the movie.
Absolutely.
Given how, how homophobic and hostile the world was to trans people and gay people.
I mean, if right now a heterosexual filmmaker and heterosexual stars made a movie about trans people killing each other, like, I would be pissed as shit. Granted, if trans people made a movie about that, I'd be hype as fuck. Please go make that.
Well, but what I was going to say is I don't think that the movie is homophobic, actually. I think it's, like, very kind and open-minded towards this community.
I very much agree, and that's why the, like, final kill of the movie hits so fucking hard.
Yeah.
Because they take great pain to, like, make you sympathize with these, like, really complex characters in this, like, seedy underbelly of gay New York City.
Yeah. But the other question I had was, like, who was this for? Like,
that's the big question.
Like, how did they expect this to be a hit movie of any degree? Like, the world was so homophobic. Gay people a lot of people were closeted, and then the people who weren't were so angry that this was being made. I was like, this movie was made for nobody, basically.
Well, the movie was kind of made, in my view, for Friedkin, by Friedkin, to like
I guess so, yeah.
exalt his guilt over casting the actual killer that this movie is based on in The Exorcist.
Oh my god, I completely forgot about that.
Uh-huh! So, for listeners who don't know, if you've seen The Exorcist, which you probably have, there's a scene in which they take Reagan in for medical testing in and around, is it Boston or DC? And they used actual medical technicians to, like, perform a lot of these tests in the movie, one of which later was arrested for murdering a bunch of gay men in New York City.
Yeah.
And Friedkin met with him in prison and interviewed him when he was starting cruising, and it's the thing that made him want to do cruising. Before he picked up cruising, it was being helmed by a different director. Brian De Palma.
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
I would love to have seen Brian De Palma's cruising. However, in a weird twist of fate, De Palma took all of his ideas that he'd planned for cruising, and a lot of his like sequences that he developed, and set them aside and turned them into his own script for Dressed to Kill, which came out the same year, and is also like weirdly homophobically problematic in certain ways. But I also love it.
I love Dressed to Kill. I think it's way more problematic actually than cruising.
Oh yeah, but it's
but I love it.
I think Dressed to Kill is somehow both
problematic.
Both more problematic and more sympathetic.
Interesting.
In interesting ways, I feel like cruising dips its toe, for better or worse, like production wise, into its world, but doesn't do much research outside of that. Meanwhile, De Palma was like, I'm gonna do all this research and here it is, and you're like, awesome, cool, that's great, and here's my interpretation. Like, no, we don't need that. We don't need that.
Anyway, I watched that in the afternoon, and then I got home and ended up watching another movie that I haven't watched in a long time, also from 1980. So I had a 1980 double hitter, and I watched the new restoration of The Fog by John Carpenter.
Oh my god, I love The Fog.
Just so gorgeous. Filmed in Point Reyes, or one of those beautiful towns up near San Francisco. Also the town that they filmed Murder, She Wrote in when she's in her main hometown. Just so gorgeous. Again, not a movie that entirely works like on a story level, but it does not. The vibes are off the charts good. It looks so beautiful. He's so good at what he's good at, John Carpenter. I mean, I know that sounds dumb, but like the foreground, background kind of dissonance, the pacing, just he's so good at filming certain things and like putting certain sequences together. He's just such a master at it.
For my money, I think that might be his best film, The Fog, in terms of like filmmaking quality. I think The Fog is just like on another, like, The Thing is incredible. The Thing is fucking like,
I would say The Thing is
mind-numbingly great horror film, but in terms of like, especially like knowing what John Carpenter's like influences are and like what he like angles himself after, like he's a gigantic fan of Howard Hawks and Orson Welles and Alfred Hitchcock. I feel like The Fog accomplishes all of the things that he aspires to be. Meanwhile, The Thing is like everything that he is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about The Fog is, like, for me, the whole first half is so great when they're setting up, like, oh, this thing happened in the past, and here's a ghost story, and here's the fog, and it happens between midnight and 1. Ultimately, it's kind of like a Scooby-Doo episode and has no teeth. Like, there's, like, no one dies, and they're like, here's your gold back, and they're like, cool, we'll leave you alone now. Like, it feels like a Scooby-Doo episode, which is okay, but it just, like, it doesn't have as much teeth as, like, The Thing or Halloween for me, but it's so beautiful. And anyway, watching these two movies made me think of 1980 and what a banger year it was.
Banger!
Not only because it produced me in Christmas of 1980, little Josh Conkle was born, but also because, I don't know, I was thinking about, like, liminal spaces between times. Like, so you have all of what's great about 70s cinema, the greatest cinema decade, arguably, a lot of people would argue. But you get a lot of the great 80s stuff, like great 80s music and fashions. And sort of you're kind of get the best of both decades, I think, in 1980. Like The Shining, Dressed to Kill, Cruising, The Fog. Like, a lot of great movies came out that year. My Bloody Valentine, like, It just goes on and on and on.
I mean, let me just rattle off some bangers from 1980 really fast.
Please do.
Altered States, The Elephant Man, Terror Train, 9 to 5, Stir Crazy, Popeye, Raging Bull, Heaven's Gate, House on the Edge of the Park, Christmas Evil, The Long Good Friday, Fade to Black, Almodovar's first movie, Pepe Lucci Bomb and Other Girls Like Mom, Melvin and Howard, Hopscotch, Out of the Blue, Argento's Inferno, Bad Timing, Forbidden Zone, Airplane, The Blues Brothers, The Stuntman, The Shining, The Last Metro, fucking Berlin Alexanderplatz, like, an incredible year. The Changeling, like...
Love The Changeling. Ugh. Yeah, anyway, so I just thought about 1980 a lot and watched those two great movies. Today, we are not talking about 1980. We are talking about 2013, a movie made by the iconic art house director Jim Jarmusch. We are talking about Only Lovers Left Alive.
Her third wedding. You look so young.
In my regards to that suicidally romantic scoundrel.
Well, let's hope he's just romantic.
You being so reclusive and everything is probably only going to make people more interested in your music.
Yeah. What a drag.
So you hadn't seen this before.
Well, there's a giant asterisk associated with that sentence.
I have an asterisk too, but go on.
Technically, I had not seen Only Lovers Left Alive until preparation for this episode. However, I had, in that, but I hadn't. When it came out in 2013, I probably didn't see it until 2014. I definitely rented it from my public library. In and around that time. And I watched it on a date, and 5 minutes in, we started making out, and I saw no more of the movie. So, like, listen,
That's a good association.
I was a horny, bored teenager at the time, and I wanted to watch a rock and roll vampire Jim Jarmusch movie, but also, I was a horny, bored teenager. So, one thing won out over the other, and so it played on in the background as we continued to, like, make out and hang out.
Yeah.
But I didn't focus on it. It just served as a soundtrack, more or less, which honestly,
that's a good soundtrack.
I feel like Jim would be, like, okay with this.
Yes. His band Squirrel does a lot of the soundtrack for this. So I'm sure he would be pleased.
Yeah.
I didn't see this until 2020, and I only saw the first half of it because I watched it late at night in bed and I fell asleep. But it was like the perfect vibe for that thing, which is actually will relate to something I'll talk about later that my partner Joel said while we're watching the movie. But I don't know what there is to say about Jim Jarmusch. I've seen a handful of his movies. He came out of the New York City scene of the 1980s with movies like Down by Law and what else? What are his 80s movies?
I mean, Permanent Vacation, Stranger Than Paradise, Night on
Stranger
Earth.
Than Paradise is the first one.
Mystery
the
Train.
First big one. Yeah. So he kind of is this like he's like not very interested in traditional plot lines. He's more interested in tone and character, and they're kind of hangout movies, often road trip movies. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where he's coming out of.
I mean, he's coming very much out of the 80s no wave era. So if you associate, like, if you think about the music of, like, Sonic Youth or My Bloody Valentine, imagine that as a movie.
Yeah. And music is a huge thing for him. Jack White of the White Stripes gets a really great mention in this. There's lots of cool music by people like anyone from like Wanda Jackson, and the movie is set in Detroit. So like lots of like old Stax artists, and it's a really cool soundtrack, and yeah, music is like a major thing, as well as literature. Lots of literature references.
Lots of literature references.
He's a smart, sophisticated fellow, this Jim Jarmusch.
There's a lot of brains under that very, very, very high hair.
Yeah. Synopsis wise, basically, it's very simple. Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston play 2 centuries old vampires who are married and very much in love. Although when the movie begins, they don't live together. They've been spending some time apart. Not because they're in a fight. It just seems like they live their own lives, you know? And he's in Detroit, and he's like a sort of rock and roll star that's in hiding a little bit because he's tired of life and he's thinking about ending it all. And then she has been living in Tangier with her friend Christopher, the actual Christopher Marlowe, played by John Hurt, who's like living under a pseudonym. And she gets worried about him and decides to go to Detroit and spend some time with him and reconnect with him. And that's kind of it. I mean, there's a little bit more than that, but that's like the loose summary. Mm-hmm. It plays out very much like a game of Vampire the Masquerade, the tabletop role-playing game from the 90s where you play a vampire in a modern city. Yeah, it's just kind of a vampire hangout. Like, imagine if What We Do in the Shadows was like less funny and more serious, and that's kind of what you're getting. It's like vampires hanging out in an old house being cool.
I mean, if you listen to the show and you watch What We Do in the Shadows, you need to watch this movie because, like,
yes,
Tilda Swinton plays herself on What We Do in the Shadows in, like, character from this movie. And Jim shows up on What We Do in the Shadows as himself. So, like, that show is very much in conversation with this movie. That show is obsessed with this movie in a really beautiful way. So, I mean, Tom Hiddleston is, like, holed up in a dilapidated kind of turn of the century house in Detroit that is boarded up in, like, empty nowhere. He drives Series 3 Jaguar coupe, not dissimilar from my car. And
he looks like Lux from The Cramps, kind of.
Yes,
like dyed black hair, very skinny.
All the vampires in this movie have, like, outrageously long unkempt hair, and it's hot as fuck.
It's really hot.
And he just, like, lives in his little boarded up house with, like, a myriad of priceless vintage guitars and wires and cables and soundboards and little, like, bits of machinery that he's built to, like, sustain himself and to, like, be at odds with the modern world, but also in his own way keep up as he needs. And Anton Yelchin is incredible. R.I.P. Sweet, sweet boy. Is his little, like, gopher friend who procures him only the most strange things, like vintage guitars and bullets made of the strongest wood available. And he just only leaves his house for food, i.e. haranguing medical technician Jeffrey Wright down at the local hospital for blood, and then spends the rest of his time inside working on his music and hanging around in, like, long robes and dressing gowns from, like, the 1800s. And you know what? I realized watching this movie that is my idealized life, and it makes me mad.
I thought of you so much during his sections of the movie. I was like, this is Drusilla's dream house and dream life. We also get a lot of Detroit, which is so beautiful.
Yeah.
A lot of him driving around Detroit, and there's, like, you know, it looks just completely bombed out. There's, like, fields where houses used to be with just rubble now, and long, beautiful wildflowers everywhere that are only lit by the headlights of his car. Gorgeous. We go to this old bombed out theater.
The most beautiful sequence of the movie.
Lot.
I was just in awe and gasping and crying through that sequence.
It's gorgeous. I mean, there's so much about this that just is so beautiful. What I really appreciate, and some critic pointed this out when I was looking the movie up, is that, you know, an easier choice would be to make these two, like, kind of over it all, or, like, the kind of laconic hipster types, but they're both very much engaged with the world. They're both really curious about things still. They're both, you know, he doesn't like people as much as she does. I mean, humans, mortals. She seems to take a real interest in them and be somewhat charmed by them. But they're both like really curious about the world, and they both know a lot in the way that ancient vampires would. Like, so he understands electricity, and he's, like, annoyed by the way that there are too many cords around on the outside of his house and random public buildings. He's like, oh, there's just an easier way to do this. So he's, like, really good with electricity and really understands science. They both have read, like, every single book and know every single musician who ever lived. It's so clever.
One of the most like touching parts of this movie is that in Tom Hiddleston's, his name is Adam, her name is Eve. It's like
yes.
in his bedroom, there's a wall of framed photographs that on most people's house, these people would be like heroes, aspirational figures, which you kind of get the vibe that they are for him as well, people that inspire him. But you also understand that they are his past friends. And it's like Edgar Allan Poe, Joe Strummer,
Jean-Michel Basquiat. I noticed Rodney Dangerfield.
Yes, Rodney Dangerfield was one that I like freaked out over.
Your boy Luis Buñuel was up there.
Oh, I didn't notice him. Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like. Well, and meanwhile, Tilda is living in Tangiers with Christopher Marlowe, not unlike Paul Bowles or William S. Burroughs. Burroughs is also on the wall, and living this escapist life there, just entrenching herself in literature and books. And when she packs to go to be with him in Detroit, there's a gorgeous sequence of her packing her trunks exclusively with
trying
books.
To decide which books she's going to take.
And just watching Tilda's hands flow over the pages of these books as she takes them in again, excited to revisit them, is so gorgeous and passionate and so lovely. As much as I love the house and the lifestyle and the car and the guitars and everything that Tom Hiddleston is living, Tilda's character is much more akin to my personality, my worldview, because he is a little over it all, but he still has passions, he still has excitements, he's still curious and creating things, but he's less connected from the world and less interested in it, more annoyed by it. Meanwhile, she, like, touches a piece of wood and can tell you how old it was. She walks through a backyard and sees, like, fungus and plants growing and speaks to them and knows all their Latin names and is excited to see them all. She is thrilled by the world. She's thrilled by travel. She wants to be in everything and wants to be with people. She's so much more interested and excited by the world around her. I adore them. They really just feel like the two voices inside of my brain at all times.
I love her apartment in Tangier. I mean, I don't know that I would want to live in Tangier myself. I've never been there, so I don't know. But it does look beautiful. And the aesthetic of her apartment, you get like a great shot. The opening shot is each of their bedrooms from above, and the camera is spinning. So they're spinning, and it's over, an altered version of Wanda Jackson's Funnel of Love, which is really cool. And you see their different lifestyles sort of as they just lay in their beds. But God, it's so gorgeous. And then she leaves. You see a lot of shots of her at the beginning walking through Tangier at night with her like hajib on and, just going to these weird nighttime markets and places like that. It's just gorgeous.
She has, of course, long white hair and is dressed in all white. And her home is very bathed in whites and yellows. He is in all black. Long black hair. His house is all dark, moody blacks and browns and reds, and they are such a study in contrasts. And when she shows up in Detroit and a taxi drops her off at his little dilapidated home, the first thing that she sees is a skunk cross her path. And she's
love that part.
So excited, but it's the intertwining of the black and the white together and in one creature, and it's so gorgeous and beautiful and precious.
I love that. Because they've been alive so long, they have, obviously a macro view of humanity in the world. And with that comes some really interesting, cool choices from Jim Jarmusch, I felt. There's a lot about climate change and hinting about how, Detroit will be built again because eventually the southern cities will be on fire. And so everyone will have to flee north, and have the humans stopped fighting about oil and realize that they need to be fighting about water. All this sort of stuff. Also this stuff that like, it's harder for them to eat now because people's blood is so infected with drugs and other climate things. And so it's like, it's becoming more difficult for them to feed in a way too. Which brings me to this point that Joel, I thought, said that was really interesting. So when I watched this for the first time, it was in early 2020. It was before I met Joel. I lived alone at the beginning of pandemic, and it was like the most existentially lonely, frightening time in my life. And so I watched this in bed. But he's like, it reminded me of the pandemic, honestly, the way that we had to live apart from each other, how isolating it was, how we were worried about these contaminations from things, all the precautions we had to take, all of the things that we had to give up.
All the vampires were wearing gloves all the time.
It was such an astute thing to say, I thought.
There's a few different takes that I have on Jarmusch's use of vampires as metaphor in this. One that I had while watching it, and one that I had after the fact. But while watching it, I couldn't help see these, like, astute music literature loving and creating individuals, view them as not vampires, with a like long view of the world around them. They just instantly reminded me of like aging punks, aging authors, aging creatives who have lived through watching all of their friends die of drug abuse and of AIDS and of all of the things that have afflicted people like for the past 40, 50 years. And when they consume blood, they kind of drop back in an opioid high for a little bit. And so the discussion of all of this new blood being contaminated instantly reminded me of the opioid crisis right now, and of the way that ketamine has been and stuff like that have been cut into cocaine and drugs across America. It's really, really, really dangerous to be doing drugs right now because it's not clean. People are cutting it improperly, and people are overdosing and dying when they should not be. So it immediately made me think of that, which is very grounded and very realistic, and certainly something that I know Jarmusch can relate to, because like that wall of heroes / friends, a lot of those people were people he knew. Like, yes, he looked up to all those people, but he knew Joe Strummer. He was good friends with Joe Strummer's in Mystery Train.
Yeah, there's something interesting about being an artist in this too, because all of these characters are artists who have to give their work to somebody else because they can't give away the fact that they're immortal vampires. So they not just imply, they say straight out that Adam gave a concerto to Schubert, like a very famous concerto. Also, we have Christopher Marlowe, who, if you don't know, listener, it's believed by some that he wrote all of, or not, if not some of, all of Shakespeare's plays, and which they confirm in this movie, in the story, the world of this movie. So it's like questioning, like, what is the point of making art if you can't, you can't be famous for it? You have to give it to other people. Is it still worth doing?
See that?
I think the movie says yes, but
that brings me to my other like view of these characters. If you take them outside of a vampiric lens, is closer to like Greek gods and Greek like it's what's
like demigods,
not demigods a little bit, but muses.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because they are living outside and above humanity, and they are consuming and producing art, and they are choosing a few like human beings to connect with and give their art to like funnel through them and to inspire them, and they are in return inspired by and connected to other human beings. And they never make clear what it is about humanity that's poisoning their blood supply, that's poisoning their food. But it could very well be a lack of people to influence and to be influenced by, a lack of a monoculture, a lack of interest in the world, a lack of creativity. Like,
yeah. I totally buy that. There was one conversation that I was really struck by, and it kind of has nothing to do with anything other than it's just a beautiful monologue. But she tells him that somewhere in space there is a planet-sized diamond that makes the sound of a gong. And that's kind of it. It's like somewhere in the galaxy of Centauri, which I guess is real, but it's like, it's just the movie underlining once again how beautiful it is to be alive and to live in this galaxy and on this planet. Like, even though they're immortals, again, they're just so in love with beauty and they're so struck by everything. And she's trying to get him, to understand, as he has in the past. We understand that that life is beautiful. I mean, it's cheesy, but like this is a movie about dead people who love life.
Yeah, I love this movie's view of the world so much, and it's a view that I had to adopt through 2020. This also made me think of early parts of lockdown and the pandemic, because I was in a relationship at the time and we were locked away, and I felt much more akin to the Tilda Swinton character in that I had a partner who was very doom and gloom, was horrified all the time about everything that was happening, from the pandemic to fucking geopolitics and climate change at the time. And I was the voice of reason through that whole point, being like, these things have happened.
Yeah.
A lot of these things are inevitable and cannot be stopped. Humanity has been through things like this before. We will adapt, we will change, we will continue. And that's beautiful. The fact that the world changes and grows and maintains and evolves through its beauty, while these characters don't, though they can still appreciate it and partake of it, is like incredible. I have a lot of conversations with people as someone, I love vampires, I love vampire myths, I love vampire mythos, I love everything about them as like cultural literary figures. And a lot of people bring up the mortality aspect of it, and that's like the number one thing about vampires is that they're immortal. And I've had conversations with a lot of people that are like, I could never do that. The concept of living forever is horrifying to me and depressing, and you watch everyone die around you, and life is so hard as is. I just like, give me a good 80 years and let me rest. I wildly disagree. It gives me severe anxiety to think about all the books I haven't read and I will never be able to read in my lifetime, all the movies I will never be able to read in all the art that is produced, all the art in the world that has been produced cannot be consumed in one lifetime, and there is still more being made. That idea freaks me out. I want to be connected to things. I want to absorb things. I want to create things. I want to be in conversation with other people. I want to try new things. There's not enough time in human existence.
I'm afraid of death. I mean,
big time.
Getting older is really scary, and dying is really scary, and thinking about what comes after, if anything, is really scary. But it also scares me to think about if being alive 200 years from now, like, what does climate change look like, for instance? Like, what is what will it be like to be alive as a human 500 years from now? If there are even humans by then, I suspect there will be, but you never know. I mean, so I think either way, it's scary.
Yeah, I've mentioned before, my favorite podcast that I listen to frequently is Films to Be Buried with Brett Goldstein. Every single episode opens on a discussion of death and on whatever that guest's view of the afterlife is. And because it's a different person every episode, they bring different perspectives. In some episodes, there'll be a very Judeo-Christian view of like the afterlife or of heaven, or some kind of more evolved idea on reincarnation or something like that. Or other people are very blunt atheists that have spent their lives reckoning and coming to terms with the idea that there is nothing and we end. And not a single one of those ideas comforts me.
No.
They're all terrifying. I want none of it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, on that happy note.
So vampires out there listening, DM me,
Drusilla's
get my address.
Is 555. No.
You're not far off, unfortunately.
Anyway, let's pivot and play our favorite game, Have They Seen It? The game where we speculate wildly whether notable figures have seen this movie. I have somebody in mind.
Yes.
And aesthetically, Adam looks very much, I mentioned Lux from the Cramps, but he also looks a lot like Dream from the Sandman comics.
Oh,
which
interesting.
made me wonder, do you think Neil Gaiman has seen
Oh,
it?
he's absolutely freaking seen this movie. I feel
I think
like
that's probably true.
Neil Gaiman sees any new Jim Jarmusch movie. Neil Gaiman sees almost any new vampire movie. Neil Gaiman sees almost any new Tilda Swinton movie. When this movie came out, I feel like he was first in line at the like Odeon like Cineplex in like London or something. Like he would have gone instantly. I feel like he saw it 2 or 3 times in theaters. I feel like he's had conversations with Jarmusch about this movie and about the afterlife and vampires and stuff.
Could be right.
I feel like he definitely saw this, has seen it multiple times since then. I feel like he sees a lot of himself and his wife in these characters, for better or worse.
They're not married anymore.
They're not? Are they officially divorced?
They're divorced. I have a story about that, by the way, that I can tell, which is that I one time tweeted a mean thing about we're talking about Amanda Palmer. Let's just say it. They're
Who
not together
sucks?
anymore.
Who is a transphobe?
Who sucks? She sucks so bad. And I was like, I tweeted a joke about how much I hated her eyebrows because she has tattooed on eyebrows that are awful. And at the time, I was working on a series of unfortunate events for Netflix, and she emailed my boss at the show, who is Lemony Snicket, because he's friends with Neil Gaiman. Like, what a narc. It's like, I'm nobody, and you're a famous singer. Like, what a loser. That's loser behavior. She's like, one of your writers is making fun of me on Twitter. Like, come on. So she sucks, and they're not together anymore.
Good. I remember
Good for
at the
him.
beginning of 2020, she announced in like her like Patreon email thing to people, whatever, that they were getting divorced or something. And then later they walked it back. But it pleases me to know that.
Anyway, she's a narc and a transphobe, and we hate her guts. Her eyebrows do suck. I was right originally.
I don't care if she's seen this movie or not. She does not deserve this movie.
No.
Go away. I thought about someone while watching this movie that whenever I see Tilda Swinton, I think of this person. Whenever I see images of Jean-Michel Basquiat, I think of this person. Whenever I think of secluded rock and roll, I think of this person. And whenever I think of vampires, I also think of this person.
I know who you're going to say. But say it.
God, I hope David Bowie saw Only Lovers Left Alive.
I feel certain that he would have.
Yeah, right?
Don't you think?
I know he and Jarmusch have met in the 90s. I do know there's photographic evidence that they met. He and Tilda worked together a few years after this. Or around this time, I think, for the Next Day video shoots. For cuts off that album. And, you know, this is about 3 years before he passed. So he probably would have been dealing with his diagnosis at the time of this movie. The big reason I thought of this is because when Anton Yelchin first comes over to Tom Hiddleston's house to bring him guitars that he's procured for him, the first one he opens is a white Supra, which is exactly the guitar that Bowie played later in like the 90s and is visibly holding up on one of his live albums. And it's like, after Bowie's death, they re-released that guitar as like a David Bowie signature. Like, it is like wildly like closely associated with him. So I was like, within the first 5 minutes, I was like, Bowie? And of course, David Bowie stars in one of the greatest vampire movies of all time, which we've discussed on this show.
Hunger, episode 4, I think, of Bloodhouse. He also played Andy Warhol in either Basquiat or
in Basquiat.
Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
Which stars Jeffrey Wright, who's in this movie. Wonderful movie. I know that David Bowie spent a lot of his later years in the Catskills house, which I know because Vogue does a series called Objects of Affection where people walk you around their house. And one is Imani showing off their Catskills house, and it's very beautiful and moving. But I feel like when he's in Manhattan, you know, their apartment was on Houston Street. I feel like he's just walking to Angelica and IFC Film Center in the afternoons. And so I feel like he would have seen this in that context, just like walking to the theater and watching a movie in the afternoon.
The idea of going to the Angelica Film Center to go see this movie and bumping into David Bowie in the audience.
I know.
I'm getting emotional thinking about this perceived thing that never happened to me, but it probably happened to someone, and I'm jealous of them.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did.
Oh, my God.
Okay. Well, you mentioned The Hunger. Do you think that Catherine Deneuve has seen this movie?
Probably not. Probably not. But I feel like she would vibe with it if she did.
I think she would too.
I feel like it has the right, like, mood and tone.
Yeah.
For her to get into with contemporary films. And there's nothing to, like, offend her about it. Though I do know she's got some pretty bad views on some things. So maybe she'd be like, oh, climate change. Oh, zut alors, not true. Or some shit like that, but...
You should not ask an elderly French woman about her politics, probably.
Never ask an elderly French woman her age or her politics. Dior.
They're always like, oh, women are so sensitive these days. You know? Like... Yeah, I agree. She probably hasn't.
So, speaking of secluded rock stars who made their return around 2013, who also played vampires, though maybe less famously, and this one is also English, but Alive.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Adam Ant has seen Only Lovers Left Alive? For those who don't know, Adam Ant did star in a 1990s vampire movie called Love Bites.
Love Bites.
He is incredible, and he made his return to making music after years of battling cancer around 2013 with an album called Adamant is the Blue-Black Hussar in, like, dating the general's daughter or something like that. I love him so much.
I love early 80s Adamant very much. I have a question before I answer, which is, how mentally ill is 2013 Adamant? Because he went through some crazy mental
yes, he did.
Kind of stuff.
There's a great documentary called The Madness of King George that talks about his struggles with mental illness through the late 80s into the early 90s, and is part of the main reason why he was away for so long. He's doing a lot better.
Yeah, 2013, he's okay.
Yeah,
right?
he's still doing a lot better. Like around that's why he kind of like came back and was touring again around then, and he's still touring. He's fucking incredible.
My gut says no. Still, I don't know why. I don't know if he's even like a horror person.
I don't know if he's a horror person per se.
Not that this is a horror movie. It actually isn't at all.
It's barely a horror movie. It's we have vampires.
It's a drama, really.
Yeah.
It's not interesting and scaring you, or even. Yeah, it's just not about that. I don't know if look. There's a world where Adamant, who's very cool, and this is not a question of his coolness, but there's a world where he only watches like comedies. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I just feel like I could buy a picture of Adamant where he just like watches Pixar movies or whatever, and I don't mean that to be a slam against him.
That's a slam. I don't buy that.
Okay.
As someone who is a big fan and listens to a lot of his lyrics, from both his time with the Ants and after when he went solo, this dude is like obsessed with very interesting periods of art and history.
Yeah, I mean, he's in Jubilee too, I guess. I should have thought about that.
And he's been in a lot of horror movies. Yeah, he was in some Derek Jarman films, not unlike Tilda.
Yeah.
And he's obsessed with like Rococo paintings, and like he sings about Catherine Deneuve, and he sings about De Niro and Marlon Brando and Christian Dior, and like I feel like high fashion art films are like all he watches. I feel like Adamant has a subscription to the Criterion Channel.
I think you might be right. I take back what I said. Although, for some reason, the vampire of it all makes me feel like no, and I don't know why.
That's fair.
It's just a gut instinct.
I could also see a world in which, for some reason, Adamant's like, oh, I haven't seen it. I have beef with Jim. And you're like, oh, okay, sure, fine.
Yeah.
Adamant really wanted to be the lead in Dead Man, but he cast Johnny Depp instead, or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
I could see that as well. But I feel like he loves, or the other thing is I could see Adam Ant being like, it's too slow. I need more, because he's absolutely like kind of ADHD,
attention deficit
brain,
disorder,
the same that I have. So
yeah,
I can see that too. I can feel him being like, Jim's movies put me to sleep. I'm so sorry. Like I feel like I would like them, but
well, listen. If you like this episode, please rate it wherever you listen to podcasts. You can email us at bloodhousepod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at bloodhousepod. Drusilla, where can people follow you and find you?
You can find me and my art over at sisterhidedesign.com. I have a website and I have art and shit up there. Stuff for like the new movie Paint, and I've got some new Criterion releases up there. Super exciting. Go check them out. I'm also on the interwebs, I think Tom Hiddleston would refer to it as. I'm on Instagram at Hyde's Sister, and I occasionally peep onto Twitter to give people what for, I guess. I don't know. Josh, whereabouts do you lurk?
I'm at Joshua Conkle on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. So, Drusilla, how about next week?
Next week, we are saying goodbye to vampires and hello to mermaids. We are watching 1961's Night Tide, starring Dennis Hopper.
And with that, I think we will have covered horror mermaids, because there are very few of them, and we already did the lore. So that might be it. See you next week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.